you by saying how excited I am to head along and see your brand new show this year. I loved your show at the last comedy festival, and I can't wait to see what you've got in store this year.
Thank you, David. Very kind.
So, tell us a little bit about the show this year. It is called Moon and Keith, This Is Your Shit Life. Tell us a little bit about the show and how it's come together.
Well, basically, I had a stand-up character that I used to do in the UK, and Moon always had this partner, Keith, who I had a vision for and was never obviously seen, and I referenced him throughout my set, and I always said to Amir, I really want to bring Keith alive, so let's think about creating him in the future. And then, of course, during the lockdown, our minds were on overdrive, and we decided to play around a little bit. So I'll pass you to Keith.
Keith came from, just as I say, this kind of idea that Moon's got a partner, and he's, slightly subdued, let's say, and he's, and I think just playing around with improvisation during the lockdown period, filming stuff, seeing how the characters interact, and we did a bunch of interview-style improvisation exercises whereby one of us would become the interviewer and ask questions of the other character, and that was a really good chance to get those characters alive. And then we kind of just put them together on a couch and let them speak, kind of unplugged, if you like. And we thought there was a show in this, and we kind of, the idea for this came about probably before the last show, from last year actually, and we sort of left it dormant, and here it is now.
So, Sharon, tell us a little bit about Moon. How did Moon first come about for you as a character? Was she based on someone that you knew?
Loosely, she was based on a few different combinations of people, and one of them being my auntie, who is very spiritual. But I wanted to give Moon a little bit of a twist. So I was doing some stand-up comedy course many years ago in the UK, and I really wanted to have a go at stand-up, but I felt I didn't feel I was brave enough to go up there as Sharon. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to try a character, because I particularly really like character comedians. So I created her from that, and I braved it, and everybody seemed to like her, and I thought, oh, this is pretty good. And plus, I can hide a little bit behind the character, so if I was to get heckled or anything, I can, say anything in the voice of Moon. So, fortunately, I haven't really been heckled, and everybody seemed to like her, the way she is, and I'm trying not to give too much away, really, about her behaviour and her attitude to life and stuff, her vision. But in a very Mancunian way.
So, Amir, we mentioned that Sharon already had the character of Keith mentioned a few times in the show. How easy was it to step into the shoes of Keith, and did it make it easier because Sharon had already had a little bit of a back history for the character?
I suppose it did, yeah. I sort of had this idea that Keith is Moon is the sort of dominant character, if you like, and Keith sort of lives in her shadow. But then one of the things I've always been fascinated by, and I did a drama play on this, about the sort of dreamer type character, somebody who bullshits around the supposed fame or achievements, and whilst it makes for good drama, it makes for great comedy, and in the business we're in, we meet a lot of people like that, who think they are bigger than they are, and I thought, if we could have something that isn't stereotyped, particularly because both of these characters come from Manchester, and people expect a certain type of person from Manchester, but we tried to kind of just give it a different layer, and as you probably know, and you certainly reviewed us in the same way from the last show, is we do like the drama within every piece of comedy we do, and we'd like to think that as well as being a stand-up show, there is some tragedy again in this, and we try to explore that, and I think as we wrote it, it sort of became mildly dark, and I think that's sort of finding the humour within that, which is something I think we're quite good at, and hopefully something we enjoy doing, certainly. But I think Keith came together quite easily, I have to say. It didn't really need a lot of thought from me. It just kind of happened, and because we worked so well together anyway, the chemistry was just there from the beginning. So I think it's something we're really proud of right now, because getting into that sort of towards the end of the rehearsal processes, there's a lot of comedy still coming out, even from just the performance, and can't wait to share it with everybody.
I guess this is a question for you both. You mentioned there about not only just doing comedy, but liking to put something a little bit more deeper into your shows. And I certainly found that with your last show, that there was drama in there with comedy. How difficult is that to write and get that perfect mix of story, drama, and comedy?
It's like anything. I think if you say you want to make a joke out of death, or cancer or something like that, how do you do it? And I think it's not easy by any means. We do write some stuff and we just scrap it, as you would expect. You just go, no, we can't go there. Or, and this is not even to do with any sort of current world trend or anything. I think it's just, even in the days where comedy seemed extremely risque, there's still some things you can't say or do. And that's where probably we do scrap. Yeah, I don't know, how much of do we cut? How much of we?
Yeah, we've written long stuff and then we've cut it. But I think the key is, we're trying to think like the characters we're creating. And every time I step into the shoes of Moon, you can almost feel that you're that real person and say, actually, Moon would say this, or I'll come out with something and go, yeah, but that's what Moon would say. And I think being around and researching these types of characters back in the UK, you realise that they live in this world that nothing is shocking. And it is, and some of it is sad, and you think, oh, they're really quite a caring person. They come across as aggressive or whatever, but deep down, they've got a real heart. So it's kind of exploring that, really.
Definitely. And I thought that was interesting what you said there about there are things that you can't say on stage or you can't joke about on stage. But I've always had that question, what if your character is someone that would? Like, maybe you as a person wouldn't joke about somebody with cancer, but the character would. How do you find that fine line between what your character would say and what you would personally say?
Bravery, probably.
Yeah, and
I think they would say that.
Yeah, and I think it is literally getting under the skin of that character and being brave. Because if the character would come out with something, I mean, there's some stuff in our show that we laugh about and we go, well, I'm not sure how that's going to go. But these people they literally live in this world and they just go about their lives, and they might have a tragedy or, some sad affair in their life, but they just talk about it quite openly. Yeah. And it's you, as an audience member, who might be a little bit shocked. Like, if we were having a conversation with that kind of thing, you go, oh, gosh, such a body just said, I don't think they, but because you don't live in that world yourself, you find it more shocking than they would.
Yeah.
I think shows like, I'm sad to say, but shows like Jeremy Kyle, which they used to be on the UK for many, many years, sadly exploited characters with, deep underlying tragedies and issues in their lives. And it sort of opened up the world to it, almost thinking, you know what, if you really just cut through the superficial element of it, there are these real people at the heart of it. And if you can just find some humor within it, then you've cracked it, There was something I was saying when we improvised years ago about Keith saying something like, oh yeah, he's going on about how his home life was so messed up and he had loads of father figures, but then he sort of comes up with the line, but it was a good laugh, really.
Yeah.
And that just came out of my mouth, and I was thinking, well, to him, he was kind of, to me, maybe shocking. I only had one father, but he might have had 10 father figures, but to him, he had a good childhood and he enjoyed himself. So, why not?
Exactly. Now, talking about UK comedy, I grew up with a lot more UK comedy than I did US comedy, and I think probably my comedy comes from the things that I watch, like The Young Ones, Keeping Up Appearances, Are You Being Served? Tell us a little bit about the comedy that you both grew up watching in the UK.
Well, I mean, I'm a big fan of the young ones and all that particular stuff. Everything that's spun off from that. Monty Python, Blackadder, Smith and Jones, just so many to mention, you know. And I particularly loved the League of Gentlemen when they came out, the League of Gents. And again, they've got a very dark sense of humour, and I really love that, the way they twist everything.
Yeah, my inspiration was definitely Fawlty Towers. That's probably what inspired me to even become an actor, because the early days of just obsessive as a student, I mean, we used to go out to the pub, and then sort of at some point we'd just all go, let's just go home and watch Fawlty Towers. You know, this is where the age we should have gone night clubbing, and we would go home at sort of 11 p.m. and put an old video on and just laugh our heads off, even though we'd seen the episode that many times. But John Cleese's writing, particularly for me, was a massive influence, and I learnt about sarcasm and sort of just really being at that boundary of stretching it as far as you can. And I still really can't get over how good those sort of 70s sitcoms were in terms of the writing.
Yeah.
So definitely that's my inspiration, I'd say.
Definitely. Now, for all the listeners out there, Moon and Keith, This Is Your Shit Life. It's on at 2 different venues during the comedy festival. It's on at Club Voltaire from the 30th of March and then the 11th, 18th and 24th of April. And then it moves to a different venue in Elgon Street for April 20, 21, 22, 23. Now, all of those dates and times will be up on our website if you want to grab tickets to the show. And, of course, you can just go to comedyfestival.com.au as well to grab tickets and check out all those times. Sharon, Amir, thank you so much for coming on the show. I guess to finish up, what would you like to say to all of our listeners out there who are thinking about heading along to check out your show?
Just come along, have a good laugh. We'd love to see you there and share these characters with the others.
Yeah, the show is, I would like to say, it's slightly different than just your average stand-up show. It's going to be a multimedia show, so there will be some projected imagery, there'll be sound clips, there'll be some surprises in there, I'm sure. And come and check it out. You won't be disappointed.
Definitely. So for everyone out there again, Moon and Keith, This Is Your Shit Life. It's on at 2 different venues during the comedy festival. So check our website and also check the comedyfestival.com.au website for all of those times and ticket information. Guys, thank you so much for coming on the show today. It's been an absolute honour, and I have to say, I cannot wait to head along and check out this show.
Thanks, David. Thanks for having us on.